And joining me now from Washington with the very latest on the Arizona immigration law and the WikiLeaks situation is Arizona Senator John McCain. Senator, welcome back. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me back, Sean.
90,000 documents internal. Our enemies are going to take a glimpse at this. Your reaction to them?
Well, General Mattis, who is the new Marine general who's going to be head of our Central Command, replacing General Petraeus today, said it was very harmful. It was very harmful to our effort in Afghanistan. It's very harmful to our national security and hurts relations with our allies. Remember, Sean, the interesting thing about this outfit is one that wants us to get out of Afghanistan and wants us out immediately. Ultra-left, obviously with an agenda, and now we have an American newspapers acting as willing accomplices to this, what is clearly a breach of our national security, and implementing it and abetting it.
Do you think it's treason?
I'm not sure if that's the right word, but it's certainly prosecutable on grounds of on several grounds, and so I think it's terrible. I think it's really awful, and I think that we need to pursue whoever did the leaking to the fullest extent of the law.
What did you make of the report that, in fact, the Obama administration they were implicated in the Lockerbie bomber fiasco and the release of this guy on so-called humanitarian and compassionate grounds? What was your reaction to that?
My reaction was that it didn't surprise me about BP, and you know, a lot of us at the time objected strenuously to it. Look, it's now a situation where people can be guilty of outright murder, as this Lockerbie guy was, and somehow over time they can go free. But back to the leaks again. This is really something that can impair our ability to prosecute this conflict successfully. But it also is a fact that the President of the United States has failed to say that we are only going to withdraw under conditions based. That is a terrible mistake. It's sending the wrong message, and the Taliban and others are emphasizing that they think we're leaving and they're going to cut off people's heads after we leave. The President's got to say our withdrawal is conditions based, and that'll minimize a lot of the harm this leakage has done.
Senator, the people of Arizona give President Obama a 28% approval rating right now. A lot of this, obviously, I think, is connected to the suit over the Arizona immigration law. Obviously, the number one kidnapping capital in the country right now is Phoenix, Arizona. We know the impact it's having on border states, especially states like Arizona, on the educational system, the criminal justice system, the healthcare system. Governor Jan Brewer, she's seeking a dismissal of the Obama challenge. Your reaction, number one, how the president played this in the public, that if you take your kids to get ice cream, you're going to be asked for your papers, which the law specifically prohibits, and the lawsuit that followed that didn't even mention racial profiling.
I think it was just an awful thing the president said about taking your child out for an ice cream cone. I think it was just as bad when his attorney general and Secretary of Homeland Security said they hadn't even read the bill before condemning it. But I'd also like to remind you, this has now become a national security issue. As you know, last week there was a car bomb that went off in Juarez, Mexico, across the border from El Paso. The classic kind of IED situation that we've only seen in the Middle East so far. The 21 bodies were found 12 miles south of Nogales, Arizona. The Nogales police chief was told that they're going to kill his policemen because they were impeding the drug traffickers. This has become a national security issue, not just a border issue. And so I hope that the judge will rule in favor of the state of Arizona, who only acted because the federal government had not carried out its responsibilities.
Let me ask you about the long list of Democrats. I've often made the case Democrats are very generous with taxpayer dollars. You have the chairman of the powerful House Ways and Means Committee, where tax law is written, and Charlie Rangel has a tax problem. The Secretary of the Treasury heads the IRS. He's got a tax problem. Kathleen Sebelius has a tax problem. Tom Daschle has a tax problem. Hilda Solis, you're laughing, has a tax problem. What is it about Democrats? And look, why do I suspect if Sean Hannity didn't pay his taxes, they'd want to throw me in the old clinker there?
I think those Democrats should be strongly in favor of tax reform.
Well, the latest to join the list here, you know, is your friend, your colleague, Senator John Kerry, avoided, what, $437,500 in sales taxes, an annual excise tax of $70,000. He lives in Massachusetts. He buys the boat in Rhode Island and moors it in Rhode Island. You know, what are the taxpayers think? And they want to abolish the Bush tax cuts.
Well, as you know, these taxes are the reason why every yacht, every sloop, every vessel that you see that's privately owned is registered in the Grand Cayman or some other places, because the taxes are so unacceptably high. And that's another reason why
he bought it in New Zealand. But he moored it in Rhode Island because there's a 6.5% tax there. And when questioned about it, he was outraged that anyone would even ask the question.
Well, I'm outraged, too.
What, did they ask the question, or that you weren't invited on the boat?
Both. The tax system is screwed up all over America. But let me also remind you that one of the reasons why we didn't get the help that we could have gotten from foreign countries is a thing called the Jones Act, which prohibits foreign flag ships from operating in our coastal waters. That had a real impact on our environment. And that's, again, a case of union control and protectionism.
All right, what do you think in terms of these scandals? Charlie Rangel, Congressman Massa. I think John Kerry's got a lot of explaining to do. All the tax issues the Democrats have had, yet they want the Bush tax cut to expire. The president last week played the class warfare card. You know, do you think this has an impact on the election in 98 days from now?
Well, I would be very frank. I think that those scandals of Abramoff and others had an impact on the 2006 elections and the 2008 elections to a much lesser degree. But I think they have an effect, and I think the American people are sick and tired of this movement we've seen of big government into every aspect of American life, including car companies, including health care, including all of those other things that we're seeing a real rebellion out there. It's a peaceful rebellion, but every weekend I go home, I see that rebellion. It's going to be an interesting election night.
What do you make of the plurality of voters? And one of the recent polls that came out said the country would be better off if you were elected.
I was flattered and humbled, and where were they when I needed them most?
Okay. Senator, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it. And there is plenty more.